There we go. Does that mean we're ripping now?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Well, let's get a shot of Mike the engineer. We got to give him all the credit here. Mike, come over here and say hi to the little people. This is Mike the engineer from 106.3, who's been doing all this mechanical stuff. Yeah, technical. I mean, just unbelievable. He's been working behind the scenes. I hope to God somebody's paying you, because we sure owe you. And I can't thank you enough. From 106.3, Mike the engineer works with Flounder, of course, down there at the station.
It's a few seconds delay, by the way, when we do something and when it goes on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, there's going to be a slight
The sound is different from the video.
No. They're just hearing this a few seconds
I got
after
you.
we're doing.
But it is linked when they see and hear. It's the same link.
Right.
It's not with the lips moving different. Right. Okay. I love those movies where they move their mouths and make the sounds come out different. Anyway, well, are we on? We're rolling, right? Where'd Mike go? He gone? Anyway, he's right there. Okay, he's hiding behind the bongo drums. I couldn't see him. Look out, Herp. Hope it's only me. It's only the Kiver Show podcast with Pete Davis, sidekick producer and sports raconteur extraordinaire, and the mechanical mangler at the controls, Flounder at El Condo Floundo, with Mike the engineer from 106.3 Extra, 106.3. And putting stuff together. We have the live feed. We're getting new cameras, and we're syncing things up. And again, if they go to thekimmershow.net, they can link into the radio station, the podcast, the Friday morning things, the Saturday at noon playback podcast, all that stuff.
Everything is all right there.
Outstanding. And also the town hall
video. Town hall video and pictures and everything. Mike put all that stuff up for us.
Mike, you're the man. I tell you. I mean, it's really... Have you always been? I mean, were you as a kid? Did you like take apart radios and shit like that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Did you really?
All the time.
I mean, and
did it forever. Yeah.
And did you get like an erector set or something?
All that. Yeah, chemistry sets, erector sets, little electronic sets. Take things apart, put them back together. Still works with the leftover parts. All that. Yeah.
Now, is your training in electrical engineering, or where did you learn how to do all this stuff?
A lot of it just kind of like trial by fire.
Yeah, really?
Like in high school, did all the pep rallies, the sound for all the pep rallies and all that kind of stuff, and then in school did electrical engineering, but got into radio accidentally like a fool.
Yeah, and, like most of us. Actually, well, I did by a total accident.
Yeah, and just kind of it was cool. It's better than a real job, right? So rather than go get a real job where I sit in a cube and design circuits or something all day long,
even better.
Just here, whatever. Here we are in the middle of the day and. Yeah, I'm 100 miles from the office.
Yeah, I love it.
No one worries about it, so it's wonderful.
Yeah, my dad was an electrical engineer, and he, as a young man, he would build his own ham radios. He'd talk to people around the world on radio sets.
I'm a ham radio
and he could do and take apart or build anything. I mean, it was unbelievable, and just he had that kind of mind. I don't, but you obviously.
I agree. Yeah. You just it's natural.
Yeah, outstanding.
I think it's probably harder to try to learn if you don't have the mind for it.
Well, I remember. Now you may not be old enough, but back in the day when I first went into radio was in the 60s, and you had to get a radio telephone operator's license. Yeah. And back in the day, they were difficult. I mean, it wasn't easy. And if you wanted to get a first-class phone ticket, holy cow, you had to be an electrical engineer. And nowadays, you don't have to do anything to be on a radio. But we had to get a license. Did you have to get a license? Were you old enough?
In the late 80s, yes, you still had to do it.
Yeah, I do it. And then in 1965,
when
college,
we had to do it.
1965, my first radio job, and I had to actually take the test and go to the FCC and everything. And it was, oh man. Well, anyway, thank you again, Mike.
Yes,
I really appreciate it. It's good to have you a part of the team.
A little forward to ask him about his erector set when he was a kid.
You know, the funny thing is Mike's known me since I was 2 years old.
Really?
Man.
Yeah, he lived in my neighborhood is a giant circle. The neighborhood we grew up in is a giant circle, 1 mile long, and the outer part is called Rose Common, and I lived on Heathwood, which was a straight that you go into the neighborhood and you can go straight or you can go all the way around.
Yeah.
And I lived on Heathwood, and him and his brother Matt lived on Rose Common, and they were two of my best friends growing up.
I'll be damned.
Super random.
Now, did you know he was at the radio station?
No, it was when he was at Cumulus for a short time. We literally ran into. I was like,
"I'll be damned,
Mike."
Small world. There you go. Anyway,
super random.
Thank you so much. This, as we speak, it's Wednesday, the 25th of May, and there are a couple of major news stories. Obviously, again, we don't know when you're listening to this podcast, but as we speak, the big news stories are, of course, the school massacre in Texas, and also the election from yesterday. We'll get to all that stuff. We'll talk about all of it. Also, it turns out, well, the open border policy of our president has allowed the Muslim extremists to come into our country to try to assassinate George W. Bush. And again, he sneaked in with the others across the border. So, gee, if we had had a closed border, he wouldn't have been able to make it. I mean, again, people are saying, well, what's the difference? It's just all these lonely families wanted to get, better life for their children. Well, and terrorists are coming across, too.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
Absolutely.
And they lied to us and said it wasn't.
I mean, we know that they've been coming from all over the world, too, not just Mexico or South America, for God's sake. Anyway, just a point that the Muslim terrorist whose plot was to assassinate George W. Bush came across a Mexican border. And, there you are. What more do you need? I mean, he was going to assassinate the former president. If they had said he was going to assassinate Barack Hussein Puttitat, oh my God, they'd have shut that border today.
Well, they couldn't have got to Puttitat because he's on his island compounds.
Well, he's got his own compound. Yeah. Martha's Vineyard.
Navy SEALs surrounding him.
Oh, my God. I love it. And also, I didn't see this anywhere in the news other than I heard it on Fox that they've given new names to the Army bases, a lot of them in Georgia. Oh. I think Fort Bragg is now Estee Lauder Spa and Camp or something. I don't know. Every guy, according to Silly Millie, the general, every soldier has to get a pedicure at least once a month. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Oh, by the way, in terms, we'll get to the election stuff here in a minute, and then we'll do the bad thing on the school thing. And again, I'm not going to dwell on it, and I'm not going to get all preaching stuff. We definitely have things to talk about it, but that's not what we do. By the way, as far as the election, just a quick preview note. I've said for years, always lie to pollsters. Always lie, especially when you come out of it. If you have the chance to be interviewed as an exit poll, when you come out of the polls and they say, who did you vote for? Whom did you vote for? Always lie. So then the guys go on TV, oh my God, David Perdue's making an incredible comeback. There was no way. Now, did you ever in a minute think that David Perdue had one possible chance in a billion to beat him?
At the beginning. But as long as he's a horrible campaigner. Just horrible.
Well, none of it made any sense. And the same thing with Raffensperger. There was no, people didn't know the names of the people again. This was all a Trump thing to get back at the so-and-so. And the same thing with Herschel Walker. You think somebody was going to beat Herschel Walker in the Georgia race for the U.S.? I mean, come on. I mean, of course he won by 70% of the vote.
Because there were some good people. Kelvin King.
Of course they are. But it's
the
Herschel
other guys
Walker.
running. They're all good people.
A couple of good military people, a couple of good women running. I mean,
Sadler
those two chicks are both quality candidates. I mean, I respected them. I believe what they said. I think they probably would have done a great job. Yeah. I think they would have gone up and close the border, gun support for the Second Amendment, and take CRT out of the schools and protect our children. Boom. I mean, what do you? That's perfect. So, but nobody's gonna, he can't beat Herschel Walker. I mean, what were you thinking? And of course, all that did was make all the marketing teams rich, and all the advertisers and the consultants got millions.
Not only that, they declared Kemp and Herschel by 8:30.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you run like the ones we mentioned, this gets your name out there for the future.
Next time. Yeah. I think
Latham and Kelvin King were the two best candidates in my opinion.
Well, anyway, we'll get to all that stuff here in a second. But again, I've always said always lie to pollsters because honestly there's no I hate the idea of polls. Polls give politicians an opportunity to see where the people are going so he can try to lead them. The politician should be the person he is anyway. And by the way, when they have polls to say who's leading, and that Kemp was leading by 1 million or whatever, it does affect the people who then decide whether or not they even want to go to the polls or whether they should support the candidate who's leading in the poll. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen because of the electorate's basic lack of knowledge by pollsters. And it's just not fair to me that the election outcome is determined by how many people have the most money to have a poll that says, do you believe Kemp was a good governor or is he a scumbag like David Perdue? You can put the questions any way you want to and get the result you're looking for. And to me, it just affects the outcome, at least part of it, or whether people actually go to the polls. I don't like polls. I don't like the idea of them. And I think it's kind of the chicken way to, figure out what's going on in the world.
I don't think they should do exit polls. I think that that can bend elections, I don't think. But for the rest of the year, it's a tight line. The representative is supposed to be representing the will of the people.
Yeah.
And you know that is by polling. That helps you decide what the people are thinking. So I can understand that the rest of the year, but I don't think there should be exit polls. As NBC showed when the panhandle of Florida wasn't finished voting.
Well, that should be illegal. I mean, that's that's a crime. If you're giving results before the polls are closed,
right.
The only reason I always lie to exit pollers or would suggest it is so they look like idiots when they come on at 9 o'clock. Purdue's stunning upset, and look like idiots because they are idiots. And it's just Now the other thing, I think there's a difference between media companies doing polling to show that the liberals are doing such and such. The difference between that and candidates doing market research. Obviously, look at this. We're having motion in our video. No, he wants it back down. There you go. Oh, hi, gang. And again, it's a little bit of a delay. It's like a half-second delay. What?
Our sign.
Oh, we got our sign.
Our proud sign.
Anyway, we'll talk about all the election stuff here coming up in a second. Can I do a couple things? I put this on Facebook video. I don't know whether you guys saw it. I think because of all my horse videos, you probably guys refuse to look at anything on the Facebook page.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed is a lot of times, like if me or Pete might post something for the show, it gets drowned out with the horse videos.
Well,
not a bad thing or anything, but just
well, again,
that's on purpose.
Because of those horse videos, I will show you this. I put it on Facebook. It's this beautiful card from Patricia in Canada. And she says, please send us a wonderful donation. And she says, thank you for all the beautiful videos you share on Facebook. I look forward every day and seeing you interact with all the horses and Wiggler and Molly and sharing beautiful Jack the Good Boy with all of us. I love them all. Again, it's because those silly horse videos that are just me going to see the play of the horses and all over the world. I mean, she wrote me from Canada. In fact,
she probably risked her life.
Look at the envelope. It's got stickers and labels. I mean,
she had to risk her life to get a communication out of the
because of Trudeau,
the concentration camp known as Canada these days.
I know, God, I feel thank you, Patricia, for going on. And also, look at this. I mean, this was amazing. This woman, remember the picture I put on Facebook from years ago of me down in Florida with my black cat riding Jack the Good Boy, sitting on the saddle. Sure you do. Ever look at the Facebook videos I put on? Anyway, it was a picture, and this very sweet lady who's an artiste named Julie Wedeen or Whedon, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, watercolor painted a card with that picture on it. I mean, that picture's from my Facebook page that I have in my phone. Is that unbelievable?
She is good. She's done stuff before.
Oh my God!
I think this is not her first attempt at this.
I think she's had some practice, maybe in the background, some practice.
I like her note at the bottom.
Well, let me read it to you. And it says, "Dear Kim, Pete, and Flounder." And again, these are things. And she sent us a very generous donation as well. And again, those silly horse videos that are scoofing around. If people will help us kind of keep this going on the air, God bless you and thank you so much. Her quick note: I wanted to thank you for bringing joy and sanity to all of us. I listen to you while I'm painting, and you make my day. May God bless all of you. You're a blessing in my life. Thank you again, Julie. And P.S. Kimmer, get a dog. Which is, and honestly, I can't. There's no way I can't.
You need a cat.
I could get a couple of cats. I'd get 2 cats. If I got a cat, I'd get 2. I'd get a family. And also on the way in today, this sweet Denise, who writes us all the time, sent us another beautiful donation. I've got it on the way in today. And it says, hope you, Pete and Flounder, have a great weekend. Enjoy the podcast. They're always funny, and a lot of things I didn't know I was going to hear. I watched the town hall event, and it was great. Kimmer, and then it said something interactional. I don't know if I can read that. She says, I also joined Patreon, but don't understand it. And she ordered a second Kimmer Show T-shirt from farmhouseprintingco.com. In fact, you'll mention I'm here in a second, Pete, as I finish this, because she liked the first one so much. She said, it's a great company. I hope this helps keep you going a little bit. Thanks for all you do. God bless, from our sweet girl, Denise. Denise, thank you. And the Farmhouse Printing Co. thanks you as well.
In fact, that whole segment brought to you by farmhouseprintingco.com. Got all the Kimmer Show shirts, the Holy Crap It's Sports shirts, the Jack the Good Boy shirts, whatever you want. They'll put it on something for you. hat, a sign, whatever promotional items you need. No minimum order. That means 1 or 1,000. It doesn't matter. No setup fees, and now with laser engraving.
Oh, that's very special, by the way. And and again, if you have a picture, and I put pictures on Facebook that you can take off video, whatever. And if you like something, you can get to farmhouseprintingco.com, send it to them, and they'll put it on whatever you want.
Get that photo of him doing the rabbit ears over me and put that on a T-shirt.
There you go. You can do anything you want. They will do for you.
Or
on a hat or a pair of shoes, or I mean, you can put it anywhere you want it. I mean, so anyway.
Or just take the beautiful photo of me by myself without the rabbit.
You could do that too.
That's a gorgeous.
It's a wonderful. But you got two. I got two good pictures of you that I sent
to you.
Well, no,
there's another good picture too, where it's the photographer just got a picture of Pete looking up at the stage. It's like,
oh really? Print it out. We'll put it if you can send it to me.
It's like Deep Thoughts with Pete.
Send it to me and I'll put it on both my
do it
Facebook
right now.
pages.
Is there one? The one with you? There's one with you, me, and Bortz that is fantastic.
Yeah. I put that
really
on
is
Facebook.
nice, yeah.
I posted that, and I posted one with Belinda in there too. The four of
good.
us.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
I put
one,
both of those on Facebook. So you can go look at those on the Kimmer Show Facebook page.
Yes.
And
Also,
get them on Farmhouse Printing Co.
I need to show you too, when you post a picture, you can crop. That way, when you take a picture, you can take out where it says 1 of 2 pick.
Oh yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, I guess people probably can.
It's just me being anal attentive, but again, you can. But again, the fact that you're able to post and take a picture, it's
You being
And
what?
by the way,
wait a minute. You being what?
move on.
By the way,
You already said that.
I got mocked. I heard it, and I just
attentive.
Anal attentive. Yes,
What did I say?
that's like an analyst and a therapist and an anal rapist.
It's anal retentive is what it should be. You said anal attentive.
That's
you
pretty
always
bad.
perk up when you
The
see one.
intention of anal is fine with me. Who am I to say? But I got kind of mocked on one of the comments on the Facebook reaction page. Was the guy who said, "This is why Kimmer doesn't have any room in his phone. He takes pictures of pictures so that he can send it to people," which is true. If I get a picture, I take a picture of it
Kimmer,
so I can post it.
We don't have to print the internet.
I know. Well,
See, Pete, there
but
you go.
again, that's how I do it. That's the way
Wait a minute. Let me see.
That's the way I figure it.
I'm getting up and coming over here.
Oh, Pete's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll take it.
That's a good one right there, though.
Asa looks attentive, and there's here. That's another. You got some good ones in there.
I have my eyes open like I'm paying attention.
Send it right to him. He'll love that. Anyway, again, thank you for your comments, and we had a good time. And we'll probably do another one of those at some point. Although, if we, well, whatever. I was going to make a stupid joke. Gotta keep going. I can't believe this. Once again, within a few days of the last time, I got a friend request. Remember I told you weeks ago about the fact that my 8th grade class is having a class reunion in Fayetteville, New York from 8th grade. That was 1957 or something, whatever, okay? Or 58 or 9 maybe. And in that class reunion on the list of people, I saw some names, including a girl named Chris, who was my first girlfriend in 8th grade, my first girlfriend. And it also Artie Colasante, who was the only guy who ever hit a home run off me in my entire career as a pitcher, and things like that. So, Kay Brown was one of the girls I had a crush. I mean, people I knew in 7th, 8th grade having a reunion. And the woman who sent it to me is a girl named Brettis. And she'd been communicating, and then all of a sudden yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the night before, I got a message saying she put in a friend request. And so I said, I thought she was a friend, so I clicked it. And then I thought, oh, you freaking idiot.
Did it again.
Did it again. So I immediately went into it and blocked. I hit the little 3 dots and blocked it. But again, this is the 3rd time.
Okay, if you feel, always just check. You can check, see who your friends are.
Well, but I have a friend list. It's thousands, and I go scroll
Just
through
go to the
them.
search thing and put their name in. If their name pops up as a friend, they're already a
Okay,
friend.
well, again, it was automatic. It said, oh, that's Brettis. My God, I thought she was a friend, and I clicked it. It was just an automatic thing. And then I realized also, and she also sent a message out saying, beware, I think I've been hacked again if you get a friend request. And I said, oh, thanks for telling me now. But so I blocked it. But again, this is the 3rd time in like 10 days.
What's the common denominator?
That I'm old? Is my
You
age?
Don't you just keep doing it. They send this to everybody. You're the only one that seems to keep
But
doing
I keep
it.
deleting it. I mean, so.
Well, still,
I
stop
know.
doing
I
it.
mean, my God. Anyway, as a warning, if you get a friend, and again, I'm not. Oh well, in fact, our friend Denise, who sent us a nice donation and sends us cards every week, and she. I guess she communicates all the time, but I guess she's not officially a friend on Facebook. Maybe my personal page. Yeah, it was my personal page. Remember we had talked about that last time. What's my? I don't even know my own Facebook page. It's just Kim Peterson, I guess. So she went. So I said, well, just ask me for friendship, and I'll look for it, and I'll click on it and accept it. Yes. And she wrote back and said on the podcast Facebook page where she's a communicator, and she wrote back and said, well, there are 4 Kim Petersons. I tried it, but there are 4 of them, and it's not you. So I can't even accept friend requests anymore. I mean, I don't know what to do. This
People
is just
find you.
nonsense. Anyway, so just beware of the scam. And again, it's people, and it happened to my old buddy Collie. Hadn't seen in 50 years, his second time, and then whatever. Just a quick kind of an update. I made an appointment to get my teeth put back in, but it's going to be in July. I'm very upset about that. No, I know, means nothing. But I did, and I'm going to go see the hearing doctor. I'm an audiologist and the ear doctor tomorrow. And I had to call Humana to see whether I'm covered in a system for hearing issues. Because if I'm not, I was going to go pick one to somebody that I might know. But if I'm covered, I need a list. So I called Humana to try to get a list of all the hearing specialists in Alpharetta. And so I called the Humana number, and it immediately prompted me into a recording. And it was one of those, and I tried to get it, but I didn't record it, and now it's not working. But it said, "Hi, thanks for calling Humana. We have your name and number. Are you ready for us to help you now?" Great. Well, let me. And it was just a recorded of fake conversations, of pauses, that whole business. And so I tried to get out of it, and they wanted to sell me or give me a free a medical alert device. And so when I called Humana, trying to get to see if I'm covered in a thing, it had me in this rotating thing to get a medical alert device, and I couldn't get out of it. And every time I tried to hit a prompt and another thing, it sent me to another thing, and it was the same fake conversation. So I finally hung up the whole thing after 2 or 3, something like half an hour, waste my time. I finally called back Humana, and I pretended I was a freaking doctor. When I called, I said, if you're a doctor, press 1. 1. I mean, and I told him, I said, you made me do this. I mean, it's just, I can't believe it. What a bunch of crap. I'm just, and that was 30 minutes I'll never get back. Anyway, and they sent me a list of ear specialists and audiologists. There must be 400 of them in Alpharetta and Roswell. There must be 400 of them.
I've heard that.
God. What's that? I couldn't hear you.
So did you pick one?
Anyway, I'm going tomorrow. So that's the scoop. Now.
I guess so.
What's the matter?
I asked if you picked one. So
I did.
Did you pick based on
Dr. Shubang Mazumbar?
No, actually, I go by address. I mean, and there's.
I do the same thing if it's closest to me.
And also, if I see if there's 10 or 15 names from the same address on Old Milton, then I figured that's a medical building, and so they're obviously a legit thing. So anyway, but it's hard to and I pick girls. I pick girls' names. I want to see a girl doctor and a girl audiologist. Because, Cameron might be.
I'd just
could
like
lead
to
to
point
something.
out,
Yes.
we have 2 major stories and topics.
We're going to get to them very soon.
And you've spent the first 30 minutes of the show talking about yourself.
Well, no. We have talked about Mike. We talked about Flounder. We talked about your picture. Come on now. I'm not on some ego trip here. And I'm warning the little people about being scammed. I'm being a helper. And I thank the people for sending us stuff. This is not all about me. This is about our show, my friend. And I don't want to start off with talking about dead children and the election stuff. It's over now, and when they hear this, God knows when it's going to be. So I want to get to it, but I thought we didn't want to start off being all newsy, because then people say, I heard this on the freaking TV.
Once again, it's a fine line, because people are tuning in to hear your opinion on what's going on.
Well, okay, all right, then I'll tell you what. Let me do 2 quick things. Did you watch Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't, so let's wait till Friday to talk about it.
Okay. Damn it. And the show after it is them for an hour talking about Better Call Saul. Okay, I DVR'd both of them, and I won't say anything about what happened in the show, but I watched the synopsis of the stars for an hour, sitting down talking about the last episode, and I was disappointed that I wish they had talked more about the whole series and the leading up to that one episode. But anyway, it's there if you wanted it, if you can watch it. I will remind me. We'll save that for Friday. One more quick thing. Benjamin sent me a message on the podcast page, and it said, Kim R. Peterson got a write-in vote for the Supreme Court of Georgia.
So did I.
So did Pete Davis.
Because I did it.
I should have thought about that. And I think the Kimmer. What do you mean the Kimmer? And in fact, what was it? It was years and years ago. In Georgia, and I got like 50 votes for the Kimmer.
Because no one checks them.
Yeah, I know.
So one day you might sneak in.
Yeah,
It's a good government job.
Ran for governor. It was voted. Came in third in the race for governor. Hey, I got to come in third.
Can you get a print up of that? The actual vote? Probably can.
I probably can.
And your name would be right there.
How funny is that? Okay, let's talk about the election first.
Yes, sir.
Because that was, I don't want to talk about the dead children yet. Okay, first of all, my opinion, you agree or disagree, there was no way that Kemp was going to lose the runoff to Purdue. No chance.
How bad did he win?
Hell. It was like by 50 points.
Good.
And again, and the other one, and Herschel by 50 points. I mean, it was like 70-20. I mean, there's
no division.
Absolutely. And Raffensperger, there was no way he was going to lose either. So
he should have lost.
Well, I was more in line. In fact, I think I voted for somebody else.
Yeah, I did too.
Just on general principle, because I thought, I didn't like the way any of this was handled.
Right.
And I think he has to take responsibility for a lot of things of the policy and the way it was handled,
and
also how he dealt with Stakey, big fat loser Abraham too.
I don't know the man, but I've heard a lot of people in the GOP say he's a snake. So I don't.
Well,
That's why I thought Jody Heiss would have kind of kicked his ass.
He was a name who was mentioned a lot as the guy who had the best. I thought, but anyway,
memories fade.
Yeah.
But again, this was probably more of a we may love Donald Trump when he was president, but stay out of Georgia. We need to do what we need to do here, and we don't want to get your revenge politics going. Although I think they still love what Donald Trump did as president, without question. But again, and so I don't count that as a loss for Donald Trump, other than there was no way he was going to win it in the first place. It was just stupid, and I don't know why he kind of spent some political capital by getting creamed in those three. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Honestly, we knew they were going to win. They're now in it, so here we go. I don't. The rest of it's all nonsense.
Just beat Stakey is all that matters.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we have to do. But Kim R. Peterson. And again, there's no such thing. Now, speaking of election, now let me ask you this: any surprises politically?
Tell you the truth, I tried to follow it last night, and I got bored, so I just quit.
I couldn't even find much coverage. I mean, at 8:30 it was basically over in Georgia, and as far as everything else goes,
did the Nazi win again?
I haven't heard results.
She did. I'm still in her.
Nazi Macbeth.
I'm still in her.
Are you in her new District 7?
Unfortunately.
Oh God, I'll bet she did. But again, that's not the general election. I think there was no way she was going to lose.
Yeah, Macbeth advanced.
Yeah, but that she was the incumbent, so the chances are she was going to win the primary.
Who's the Republican going to run against her?
Yeah, that's a good question. Who are the results in 6 and 7? Do we know? Sorry, Flounder.
Is that idiot that I used to have, Hank, what's his face, still in Congress?
Hank Johnson?
Hank Johnson. Is he still in Congress?
I'm sure he is, yeah.
Because guess what? Something he said is coming true.
What,
remember
balloons?
we used to make fun about the balloons and the helium and the clowns weren't able to do it?
Yeah.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers always, for the first game of the season at home, the first touchdown, they released 70,000 red balloons. Well, they're not going to do that this year because there's a helium shortage.
Oh, my God. Well, next thing you know, Guadalcanal's going to tip over.
Guam's going to flip.
Honest to God, he actually said, if you put more American troops on there, it's going to tip over. Oh, my God. If you can get the results of the Republican winner in 6th and Republican winner in 7th.
So I think, is it Rick McCormick and Jake Evans? They're the ones who are in a runoff. So I think
Evans is the incumbent, I believe.
Jake Evans?
Yeah. I think he's my congressman.
So they're not running against her if he's the incumbent, is he? Unless they've moved the things around.
Well, no, I mean, but for the state rep, I think but he still had to run in the primary.
By the way, I showed up at the wrong polling place yesterday like a moron.
Did they change it on you?
No. I had gone early voting once before there, so I just in my head that's
early
where I
voting
go.
is different places.
So then I had to go to the other one, and when I got to the other one, I go, oh yeah, I've been here before.
Now, you went yesterday on voting day?
One guy in front of me,
Really?
and everybody was very nice, and it was in and out, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Yeah, I didn't even wait in line. I walked into the gym. Lady was right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Yeah, it took me 9 minutes or whatever.
But I'm assuming it's because these are just
So
the
many early
primaries.
voters.
I mean,
over a million voted. Yeah, a
Early.
million Republicans and 900,000 Democrats voted
Hopefully
early.
they didn't lose our votes.
But I did hear a Stakey, big fat loser Abraham is already saying, oh, well, the fact that so many people voted has nothing to do with the suppression of voters. I mean, that doesn't prove anything. Actually, yes, it does. I mean, it proves exactly. I mean, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. She said, well, that doesn't prove anything. The people voting early and absentee, it doesn't prove anything about voter suppression. Yet it proves exactly voter suppression.
Even the Washington Post said that.
Oh, my God. I mean, how...
She has to lose, or she's going to drag us. She's going to drag us
backwards.
Backwards. She's that stupid. And it'll be nothing
God.
but fighting with the Republican legislature the entire time.
You can't, please God, you can't, who could think of what happens if she is the governor? Remember, this woman who was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt is now a millionaire who hates the state and has a couple of mansions.
She's a carpetbagger.
From
She's not
Wisconsin,
even
a
from
porn
here.
queen from Wisconsin.
And she's cost us an all-star game, which we haven't heard if we're ever getting another one.
And then she lied
cost
about
us
it.
that.
And then she lied about it, and the media covered it up, pretending that she had been for it all the time and was never against it. And they edited out the part where she got caught saying that. I mean, it's one thing. It's just the duplicity is the typical, the Nationals' Democratic duplicity of Hillary Rodham, Peace Tiki Fart Cabbage, and trying to set up Donald Trump for 4 years is exactly encapsulated in a Stakey, big fat loser Abraham in Georgia. What the Democrats did nationwide to Trump, she's trying to do to the state of Georgia. That's how important and powerful this is. I mean, I really think this is a disaster in the making if she wins.
And you got to get out and vote because it'll be closer than you think. There's a buttload of stupid Democrats that have moved into this state.
That's right. And again, don't give up just because you got the right guy for in the primary. Don't sit home like you did for the runoff for the Senate. Right. It cost us 2 senators. We wasted 2 years. Anyway. We wasted 2 years, and then we're going to waste another 4 till we get the other one out. One of my Kimmer babes sent this piece written by Keith Alber in California, a former judge. And this kind of sums up some comments and attitudes we have today concerning the election that we just had and what's coming up. Opinion from a former judge. I am a student of law whose age is 85. My first year of college was 68 years ago. One class I took was political science. A half page of my textbook essentially outlined a few steps to overturn a democracy. 1, divide the nation philosophically. 2, foment racial strife. 3, cause distrust of police authority. 4, swarm the nation's borders indiscriminately and unconstitutionally. 5, engender the military strength to weaken it. 6, overburden citizens with more unfair taxation. 7, encourage civil rioting and discourage accountability for all crime. 8, control all balloting. 9, control all media. What was printed in 1954 as a possible diabolic nightmare has become an emerging reality. I hope that Americans will unite enough to pen a good finish. Holy moly, Keith M. Alber. 1954.
It's not emerged.
Eisenhower years.
It's here. That's
We're
straight out of the communist.
Everyone, distrust of the police, dividing philosophically, racial strife, higher taxes, swarm the borders, engender the military to weaken it, over unfair taxation, encourage rioting, and no accountability, let the rioters out. How many people got charged of all that rioting and destruction in 20 and 21, of all the burning buildings and warehouses and the riots and the shooting? How many people got arrested and stayed in jail?
They were the right color. They were the right liberal persuasion.
All those people who took over Seattle and Portland, nothing happened to them. What happened to them? Nothing. They took over a city.
Well, hell, they took over part of Atlanta a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
lobbed firebombs at the police.
And by the way,
we think it's normal now.
That's the new BLM headquarters, is that territory that they try to take back from the police. Oh, my God. But again, it's, control the balloting, control the media. Yeah. Boom. And that was 1954. Wow, I mean, that's scary. That to me, that's really scary. All right, hold on a second. Let me get back to the thing there. Election here with the thing. Where did Flounder go get his lunch?
No, he's left.
He couldn't take it anymore. Anyway, well, I'm glad I don't. And apparently, the former governor of Arkansas's daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is the nominee for the Republican Party and is likely, therefore, the next governor of Arkansas, which I think is great.
Well, some people don't think she's a little too rhino-ish, but I don't know about that. But
well, she's hardly a Democrat. I mean,
no.
So I mean, with Arkansas, her campaign slogan basically was, you know what, we're last in everything. It's time to stop being last in everything. Talk about, ranking the states and all the things you rank states in.
It's a beautiful state, great people.
Yeah. And the geography, you'd think there'd be a haven for hunting and fishing and relaxation and recreation.
It is. It's just the leaders. The politicians have been that good at promoting the state.
And again, if you're, I'll bet you anything. Maybe it's just if you're a certain age, but if someone mentions the state of Arkansas, the first thing I think of is Little Rock.
Well, Clinton. People think Clinton.
Yeah, but the first thing I think of is the racial strife in Little Rock, Arkansas,
well,
from
50s.
the.
I don't think no one thinks of that anymore. They think of Clinton.
The Clintons
but,
and the.
Yeah. When I was a kid, you know who the governor of Arkansas was when I was a kid?
Faubus?
Rockefeller. There was a Rockefeller in Arkansas.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Anyway, it looks like she's on her way. I don't know much about, and I haven't been really following any of the other races like in Texas or whatever. And again, we're still up in the air in Pennsylvania and whatever. Anyway, that's
really Oz didn't win, or
they're still counting. He's ahead by 1,000 votes. And last I heard, Flounder, I don't know if there's anything new feeding down.
How do we not know?
I know you could do it by hand, for God's sakes. How many poll workers do you need to have a count? 1, 2. I mean, come on. And of course, there were a million or whatever cast, but he's ahead by 1,000 votes. Last I heard. Now I assume that's part of an automatic recount when it's less than 1% or 2% or whatever.
Sorry, I'm just coming back.
I'm sorry.
Who are y'all talking about? I just came back.
Oh,
Oz.
Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania.
He's a snake.
And I think the last I heard, this morning. Well, I don't trust him, only that, and not because he's a Muslim from
Turkish
Turkey.
national.
Yeah, he's a Turkish national, which makes me nervous. But I don't trust him because he got caught hyping and representing a company that was for quacks. Some medical treatment or stuff.
Jussie Smollett
was all
thing
bullshit.
too.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't. And that's the other thing. Why him? And why would he want to be?
I know he's Mitt Romney, is what he is.
I mean, you're a doctor. You're on TV. All of a sudden, you want to be a senator. You want to be a governor, senator, president. I mean, what are your political ambitions? What is he? 70, 65? And now he wants to go. I mean, I don't know. I just don't trust him. I don't.
Him at all.
I don't.
I think he'll get in there and be another Mitt Romney.
This is kind of breaking, but Abbott was in the middle of a press conference.
Who? Abbott.
Abbott, and guess who went up there to grandstand?
Oh, Jesse Jackson.
No, Beta O'Rourke.
Oh my God.
Went up there and said, "This is on you."
Who let him up
Are you
there?
serious?
Who is Beta O'Rourke? He's not in.
Punch him in the
He's not in
face.
office. Who is he to go up to the podium?
I mean, again, everyone was telling him. Again, I just saw this, so this just happened.
So no, he went up to the microphone and
Yeah,
showed.
Abbott was in the middle of a press conference, and he walked up and just again, you can't hear the audio because he doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah.
But he's pointing at him and obviously saying,
and accusing Abbott of being responsible.
Yeah.
The same way. Well, in fact,
the fact that he does that this morning.
Yeah. Well, again, in fact, let's get to it. Let's do it. I got the soundbite of Carmela. We'll do later. I was going to have a little fun with that, but let's get to the thing. The school horrible, terrible tragedy. First of all, I want to start with the Biden speech last night. Okay, I know I'm biased. First of all, President Cuckold in Chief talks about deer wearing Kevlar vests and who needs an assault rifle and things like that. He also, when he came out, he looked slow, he looked old, he looked sleepy, he looked depressed, he looked sad, he looked like, he hardly looked like the leader of the free world. he immediately took the low road. It wasn't 2 minutes out of after he said how terrible thing and the heartbreak and you can't breathe and losing a family. His son died and he's da. And then just almost instantly into making a political issue out of gun control. And he kept mentioning, for God's sake, for God's sakes, for God's sakes, taking the freaking low road. It was the most divisive, hateful, nasty speech during a tragedy that I have ever heard any politician make. Can you think of anything, of any other instance where it was so instantaneous that a liberal uses a tragedy to further their political cause in such a horrible, children butchered, slaughtered, and I can't even think about doing it. It's watching and being there, and he talks about wants to make an issue of gun control. And by the way, one other thing. He was more depressing than Jimmy Carter back in the Malaise days. Remember that? He just, everybody said, my God, Carter, Jesus, he's just so freaking sad all the time. There's no hope
like
for
you
America.
said, when he started, he was just very slow.
Oh, it was horrible. It was like he was asleep. He didn't know what to say. And he looked, just dead. He looked sad and pathetic and weak, sullen, depressed. It was awful. And then President Wife Stealer, basically, as far as I'm concerned, demeaned the entire tragedy by simply linking it with all the others. He says, well, here we go again. It's just happening in America. We got something or other. As though, trying to ease the fear and the pain and the heartbreak of those individuals. You might have, I think he mentioned the name of the town, but then he immediately just linked it up to an issue of gun control against people shooting people. And to me, it was just demeaning. So clearly he wants to, he has to blame conservatives, and forgot to mention the kid was Hispanic, I guess. The whole place is...
and maybe even a trans.
And a tranny.
If the photos are real.
Again, there's pictures all over the internet of this kid in dresses and drag and being a cheerleader. And obviously, but again, even if it wasn't, the kid was troubled. He was a nut. He was insane. There was no, we'll talk about the causes.
He shot his grandmother in the face.
Yeah, again, look at, I want to finish with Biden, first of all, that I was so embarrassed that like all the others who want to take away their guns, blame conservatives, and try to make it political. And of course, in the first reading off the teleprompter, in the first 2 minutes, he stumbled, made mistakes. He got numbers wrong. He got his facts wrong. It's just, typical. He doesn't know where the hell he is. And even, in fact, that last night, even Brit Hume, I made a note of it. Even Brit Hume said, clearly, the president is an old man who's not aware of his surroundings. And in this business, talking about the business with Taiwan and defending Taiwan, he says, unfortunately now, he's actually become dangerous.
Yeah.
Brit Hume used the word dangerous to describe President Potato Head. And Brit Hume doesn't say much controversial ever. I've never heard him take much of a stand until all of a sudden recently he's come out very strongly about how incompetent Biden is. He's just not competent. And Brit Hume last night called him dangerous. And he is.
He twice said that we would militarily defend Taiwan, which I'm all for. I agree with him on that. But then the White House had to twice go, now, wait a second.
Our official policy is the politics of appeasement, where we ignore the issue.
One China
policy, but it's an appeasement policy where we just don't talk about it. Okay, so if that's what they want to do, that, as long as it goes along and nobody attacks anybody, then, that's okay by me. But obviously, if they start bombing Taiwan, we got to do something about it.
Anyway, 70% of our microprocessors from there.
Yeah,
something like that.
But again, even Brit Hume said the man is dangerous. The man is freaking dangerous, and he clearly is.
And there's really nothing we can do, because if we send any carriers anywhere near it, they'll sink them.
Yeah,
I got bad news. Carriers are going to be sunk.
Well. Again, I hope we don't have to get to that point. But my biggest concern is that because of what's happened in Ukraine, and obviously Putin and the Chinese leader are in talks about what's going on over there, that because of the White House response and because of America's response, that they're going to, it gives them full, this never would have happened under Trump. Two things, I thought about this just briefly, and I'll stop talking about Trump. Two things under Trump. If we had had a baby formula crisis, that we have here in America today that never should have happened in the first place. I saw a great meme over the weekend. It said, or the other day, that said something like, if Donald Trump had been president, he'd have had Harley Davidson Company manufacturing baby formula. I mean, again, talk about warp speed, Trump speed. Remember, it wasn't this lollygagging around. Even the head of the department in charge of the baby formula admitted this morning, well, we made our decisions were too slow, and we're going to find it. Well, no shit, you idiot. I mean, who didn't? I mean, this is the way these people think. They're bureaucrats. And they just go along with, well, we have to have a study on this. You better make sure that study on the formula safety is purified by the other formula study safety people. It's just, come on, get the crap out there.
Did you know how many companies or buildings make that formula in this country?
Like one or two? Three, yeah.
So what they've consolidated, and they've allowed these corporations to consolidate and fire people with middle-class jobs and consolidate these things instead of being 100 around the country.
Yeah.
Now there's only 3, probably run by 2 companies.
Yeah.
And there's no competition. And look, that's what happens.
And when you have Democrats in control, they love rules and regulations, and so you have to have studies, and you have to have double research. And all
this is because the government closed them down. Is because they're not making it. The government closed them down.
Yeah.
And not just, they closed down a wing that really had nothing to do with the baby formula, but because they had the whole building shut down, they quit making the baby formula when it had nothing to do with the baby formula.
It was a process in some other area, and the formula was fine. There was no way that any of that had to stop being put out there.
Except the government regulations.
Except because it was a rule was broken, and that's what I mean. The rule was broken. Rule broken. Hold everything. Instead of somebody saying, "Well, it had nothing to do with the formula, so let's get that out there." That's the thing about bureaucracies. You can't just make the right decision. You say somebody at the boss of the plant should have said, "Hey, the formula's okay. There's nothing wrong with the formula. Send it out."
Where are the adults?
I mean,
people would have sat there. Wait a minute, I'm looking at this spreadsheet here. In 6 months, we're going to be up the creek.
Yeah. So why don't we do something about it?
So we'll wait till we're up the creek.
Yeah. All right. We got more to talk about this and the school. A lot about the school shooting thing here in a second. But first, again, thank you to all our Kimmer Show podcast sponsors. If you go to PeteDavis1@yahoo.com, you can sign up as a sponsor for When I Lose My Mind or Scream and Yell or anything. You can sponsor almost anything on this silly show. And I'll get in touch with us, send us money, any communication, PeteDavis1@yahoo.com, like Joe Huggins did. By the way, holy crap, it's real estate with Joe Huggins. Yay! Joe Huggins is now with Keller Williams. He provides a cash offer that converts into a mortgage. You need cash offers to win in today's market. Well, guess what? Work with a Kimmer fan and the Pod Show fan named Joe Huggins. You find him at joehugginsrealtor.com. That's REALTOR. joehugginsrealtor.com. Here's a phone number, 770-599-5750. Real estate with unreal service. joehugginsrealtor.com. Dokie dokie. Thank you.
Hey,
what's that?
Flounder just showed me the press conference where Beta Man, what a perfect name for this pussy.
The beta male
walks up and interrupts, and the people up on the dais are going, "Sit down, you're embarrassing."
Someone should have hit him in the face.
Down. And they came up and took him. Someone should have just
punch him in
down.
the face. Hit him in the face, knock him off the stage, get arrested, go to the court. They'll misdemeanor, assault, and battery. Couldn't help it, Your Honor. I mean, honestly, give war a chance. I swear to you, these people need to be punished. What the balls on this loser, this pimpy little beta male. And that's when I was calling him, because there's Beto, I called him beta male when he's running during the campaign. Well, was it Vanity Fair that he had the artful pose on the cover of the magazine? Oh my God, with his like tennis shoes or Dockers or I don't know what the hell. I mean, the freaking pansy ass scumbag liberal. His whole campaign was, "We're going to take away your guns." Remember he said I am going to make sure that you do not have an AK-47. And by the way, an AK-47 is a rifle that fires one bullet with one pull of the trigger. It's a rifle. It's no different than a 30-06 or a 30-30. A Winchester, if you pull the trigger once, one bullet goes out.
But it's so mean looking.
Oh, it looks so warlike. They don't use those, by the way. That's not Navy SEALs don't carry those. Anyway, there's no such thing as an AK-47. Is again one bullet, one trigger. I have an AK-47 in my house right now. When I have the magazine in it, if I pull the trigger, one bullet comes out. Okay, it's a rifle. It's a .45 caliber rifle. It's called an AK-47. It's a one squeeze, one rifle pull trigger.
Are you still allowed to have a gun rack in your pickup truck in the state of Georgia and have a rifle?
I think so. You can display. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't do it because somebody will steal it.
I can't remember the last time. Of course, we live near Atlanta, so of course no one's
I
going
wouldn't
do it
it.
here.
Somebody will steal it.
Yeah.
And they probably figure you have a pistol in there somewhere too. So I wouldn't advertise it.
I guess no one does anymore unless you're way out.
Hell, I wouldn't. I don't trust anybody around here. I don't trust broad daylight. I don't trust parking lots. And again, I'm I don't. Okay, a couple things. That school, by the way, the elementary school in Texas is closed for the year. No more school. School's out. And I'm wondering whether they're even going to open it up again. And I heard some, heartbreaking stories. And again, I don't want to dwell on the heartbreaking part of it, but there was one woman whose 8-year-old son lived and survived. Said, I don't want to go back to school. Obviously, oh my God. And again, I can't dwell on the fact that somebody, shot little kids in the tummy. I mean, I can't imagine.
How evil do you have to be?
And again, this had nothing to do with gun control. The guns it was a one-shot, one-pull rifle, bought legally. He was 18 and legal to do it. And so, the only law that would have stopped him have been a law that you're not allowed to buy a gun if you're an Hispanic 18-year-old with who doesn't like people on Facebook, or what law would have stopped him from getting that?
I don't know
right.
if he's had mental problems in the past. Obviously, if this is true about it, the trans thing, he's incredibly confused. He's incredibly violent.
Yeah.
I don't know if he played video games, if that had anything to do with the fact. I don't know. We've decreased the love of life in this country to the point where I don't think most people his age give it a second thought.
Well, again, it's the culture didn't used to be like this. I mean, this was. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story about a party at somebody's house that got out of hand because of social media. All of a sudden, I mean, this and then gunfire. This never used to happen when parties got out of hand or other neighbors showed up at the 9th grade prom or anyway. We'll talk about that in a second. First, back to this school shooting case. Absolutely, just horrible tragedy. Democrats immediately used it for political purposes, never letting a tragedy go to waste. Congressman Ruben Gallego of Arizona tweeted, and again, I'm going to use, like Tony Soprano said, I'm going to use some bad words. You're just going to have to get used to it. He said, and I quote, this is a congressman, Democrat from Arizona, Ruben Gallego. Quote, fuck your prayers. They haven't worked for the last 20 mass shootings. How about passing laws that'll stop these killings? And then for Senator Ted Cruz. Fuck you, Ted Cruz, you fucking baby killer. Wow, sorry.
That's uniting.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Ted Cruz, the baby killer. I mean, when you say things like that, and you don't know, and then you get teachers' union saying, "Well, we have all my kids are trannies. In my 9th grade class, I have 27 kids. Every one of them's a tranny. I'll be damned. They're all gay and tranny.
And so am I.
And then and you have the right to say I'm a pansexual. I can have sex with a sponge and a German Shepherd if I feel like it. I mean, how do you expect kids to not be half freaking nuts, especially if they have problems and there's bullying and picked on and all this stuff? But anyway, that was a typical Democrat reaction. Ocasio bang bangio stupidio, AOC. Quote, if there's no such thing as being pro-life while supporting laws that let children be shot in their schools. That's the other thing. These people want to allow you to kill your baby after birth. Every single Democrat in the Senate last week voted for a proposed bill which would allow abortion for any reason at any time up to birth. Yep. They all voted for it. So don't be talking to me about how you want to save lives of children. I mean, that's pretty freaking
those are
funny.
Inconvenient children.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, if you don't really, you're probably not going to like the kid. The guy who knocked you up, he was really just, was a bar meeting. And I don't want to.
There's nothing more inconvenient than a 1-year-old.
That's right. You got to carry him around. You got to, all the women with the kids on their hip, at the store. Got to clean them up once in a while.
Find baby formula.
Anyway, and by the way, how come that is not hate speech? How is it possible that Twitter and Facebook and social media will allow him to say, F Ted Cruz, you effing baby killer, and blame Republicans and conservatives for killing children? How is that not hate speech? Where's the disinformation that Ted Cruz is a baby killer? Where's the disinformation campaign on that? Would they have stopped that from being shown?
If Ted Cruz had said that about Gallego, yes.
Yeah, there you are. I mean, it's just, why isn't that hate speech? How can Twitter and Facebook justify allowing those comments to be public? I mean, what a bunch of phonies. I hate these people. I hate what they're doing to America. And now all these liberals saying, got Ted Cruz. He killed those babies, man. He might as well have pulled the trigger himself. Yeah.
Within minutes on Twitter yesterday, we didn't even know how many kids had been shot. Democrats were already on there making political hay out of it.
The New York Times, immediately after the shooting, released a statement blaming the NRA. Boom, right there, blaming NRA. And by the way, I was several years ago when one of the last, I guess it was during the campaign, election campaign. I had not been a member of the NRA, and so I joined the NRA to make a point. And I also went and bought another gun, I think, just to make a point about trying to take our gun. And that was during the Beto talk, Beta male, when he was talking about getting our guns. So I joined the NRA, and my membership expired after I did it for 1 year, and I didn't rejoin it again because I really don't care about the NRA. I care about my rights and things like that, but I don't belong to lobby groups. I'm just not a joiner of lobby groups. So again, what's the NRA? The NRA doesn't have the power to. The people paying money for lobbyists and stuff. The teachers' unions have more power than the NRA does, and for political issues. So I've never understood that. Just automatically blame the NRA. They do it all the freaking time. Let's talk about armed guards. Now, do I understand it? And again, it's hard to do a news update because it's a podcast and we're not paying attention to the daily or the hourly updates as we do the podcast. But a report I heard was that there was a police officer on the scene. The kid had crashed his car. And apparently somebody called the cops and said, hey, some guy just crashed his car outside the school. And I think the cops showed up. And when the kid got out of his car with a gun, there was an exchange of gunfire, and I think the cop shot the kid, but he was wearing a vest.
Well, you can call him a kid now.
He's a teenager.
He's 18 years old. He's an adult.
I agree by law, but he's a kid. He's a teenage kid. I mean, if you an 18-year-old to me is a teenage kid. I know you can join the Marines and kill people in war and die in war, but to me, he's still a teenage kid. And obviously, he's not hardly a grown adult with an adult mind. Look at what he did, and the business with the training dressing and everything else. But anyway, apparently the cop actually shot the kid, protected by his vest, and then went in and eventually got killed after shooting all the children. But again, the issue of having schools these days, again, everything's changed. Schools these days are soft targets. Yep. Let's just say it. If you have police agencies guarding airports, every state office building, every city office, public, federal buildings, political places. Look at all the places that are protected by security guards, banks, shopping centers, malls. They have people driving around. Why not schools?
I know.
Really, why not schools? And you don't have to have, a guy with a bandolier of shotgun shells over his shoulder patrolling clicking up, putting a racking round in a shotgun during fourth grade math. But still, you clear, and the issue of having panic alarms and door locking. You can only get in to the school at a couple of entrances. You can get out in emergencies where you might need to, especially if there's someone hits the emergency bell, the doors open or close or whatever you need to do. But again, if you want to, what did the teachers' unions do with all that freaking money? I thought they were using that COVID money to make the schools safer with ventilation systems and everything else. How about making the schools safer for the children instead of the teachers' unions?
Because they're using some of the COVID funding to push CRT.
Well, in fact, I've got a story on that coming up here shortly. But again, on the school business, here's the other. When you think about it, remember every time this pops up, where a couple of police officers will go into Denny's and sit at the counter or get a table, and people complain that the police officers are showing their guns in a restaurant, or go into a Waffle House. And again, I mean, people, or they show up on campus for a presentation. Oh, we don't want guns on our campus. So, I mean, you gotta have that snap out of. You can't have it both ways.
That's their job to protect.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have it both ways. There's nothing wrong with having people. And here's the other thing: and we don't know whether that adult kid deliberately was going to the school to shoot up the school, or whether he just cracked up and he happened to be he
most
crashed
of these
his
cowards head right for the place they think is the easiest target.
Right. And now, again, that he wouldn't be going to a Marine Corps recruiting center. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be going to the Army Reserve, the warehouse. So he was going to a soft. If he was going deliberately, he was going to a soft target. And again, you can't allow our children to be soft targets, and you don't have to have a military presence to make them scared to go to school, but you have to take precautions. And again, the world is not the same place. All the disrespect toward police. Look what happened the last 2 years in 2020 and all of 2021.
The teachers' unions will fight against that because they hate the police.
Right.
The liberals hate the police, they don't want kids being acclimated to have police around, because then they learn to trust them. God forbid.
Yeah. Won't even let a cop with a gun walk into Denny's. God forbid the teachers' union would allow them to be in schools. How about the issue of teachers being allowed, certain teachers or school employees, a janitor, whoever, if you have a janitor who's a former Navy SEAL, or a retired Army marksman or something, is working for a second job to make some money in retirement at 65 or whatever, he may be a great candidate to be a guy with, who's maybe he was a marksman instructor in the Marine Corps when he was in his 30s or something. And guys like that who were legit and serious and sober and maybe have police credentials or have a Secret Service. Hell, I have a Secret Service clearance. I've had, training about these things. Guys like me could, be qualified to, help out as a parental assistants and civilian guards and stuff. I mean, come on. Anyway.
You'd think a private company would come out, kind of like the Pinkertons were, and basically say, we are going to be the people you hire to go to the school and protect the school. And we'll have one or two people there.
And the key is in fact, they used to do this when they started putting air marshals on airlines. Right. They made it public. They said, we've got air marshals with guns on this airplane. Well, I haven't heard that announced, even talked about by anybody in years. And what you need to do is have the school systems and all. The problem is all the communities are going to vote their own thing. But if you could somehow convince them to say, wait a minute, make it sure everybody knows we have loaded weapons and armed security on this campus to protect our children.
It cut down on hijackings,
cut the hell down on hijackings. That's why they did it. That's why they said from now on, guess what? You're going to be a guy with a gun on the plane. So, other than the bad guy, you could carry a gun on a plane. Back in the 60s, you could get a gun on a plane in your pocket, in your shoe. There was no metal detectors.
Because people came from nuclear families and they went to church and they had God in their life.
The world was different.
They trusted people, and there was an authority that you looked up to.
Yeah.
What has started all of this?
Yeah.
The taking
They
God
took
out of
God
everything
out of the schools.
and breaking up of the nuclear family. And who did that?
Yeah.
Democrats.
They took God out of schools. They said you do not have to stand for the national anthem. You don't have to put your hand over your heart for the national anthem. You can talk back to your teacher. And if you're a black, you get 2 chances, because more black kids are being sent to the principal's office for misbehavior. But that's not right, because there aren't twice as many blacks in school. So you have to go by racial animus to find out whether you can punish somebody in school based on his skin color. I mean, they're ruining the life. Isn't like that.
You can trace it all back to that. From the 1950s, when they started doing that crap, and then the 60s and the counterculture. Yeah. Once the counterculture took over, this country went to shit.
Yeah. This was a bizarre, not really related to this story about the schools. And again, I don't know what the bottom line of the school thing is. The kids, a young adult kid, 18-year-old's grandmother, is still alive, and maybe she can shed some light on.
Where are the parents?
Well,
I haven't heard a thing.
All right, here's the other thing. And again, the bottom line to me, they talk about taking a village to raise a child. What a bunch of horse shit. You need people to take care of raising a child. Who raised this kid?
Yeah, who raised him?
I mean, and every other case of people who do this kind of thing, who raised him, and what kind of life did he have? And I mean, it's just, you can't tell me that it's conservatives and Ted Cruz and the NRA responsible for this kid because he was legally able to buy a firearm. And one more thing, and then my overall bottom line on this entire issue is not going to be very popular, and it makes me sound like an evil man, which is why I'm not in favor of the laws that allow members of the family to call the police and say, my brother's a little freaky and got a gun, you ought to come here and take his gun away from you. Those red laws? Flag. Yeah, the red flag laws, because I guarantee you my kids, my daddy's got guns and he's a little nuts, you better get over there. I mean, you can't do, I can't do that. Use it against people. But here's the bottom line. I'll say the same thing I'll start with automobiles first. If you want to guarantee that you will cut the death rate in car crashes almost to nothing, then you have a federal law or a manufacturing mandate that says automobiles will not be allowed to be driven physically. They will have governors on them so that an automobile cannot go more than 15 miles an hour. I guarantee there would be basically almost zero car deaths. Someone would get run over, his car would have been reversed and run over in the driveway, an old lady would fall down, I mean, whatever. You would still have, but basically you would almost nobody would get killed. You'd have all those people, hundreds of thousands of people would still be alive every year. True. But we're not willing to do it. It would affect too many other things, speed, transport. I mean, it would mess up too many things. It would be a nightmare.
It would crush the economy.
It would be horrible. But we could do it. You could eliminate speeding by having red light cameras on every corner. And when a car went through at the speed, you give them a ticket whether you liked it or not.
Don't give them any ideas.
Well,
Dorville.
The only way to stop gun violence and the only way to stop people getting killed by guns is to take away all the guns. All the guns. And nobody would be killed by a gun. I'm not willing to give up my right to have a gun so that you feel safe that no one will ever get killed again, including my own children. And I know what I'm saying. I am willing to say I am willing to fight for the right for me to keep my gun, even though it means some other fanatic can get a gun and actually kill my children. And I would have to say, well, it's worth it to my right to keep my gun, even though someone could misuse the same right to kill my family.
What William S. Burroughs said many decades ago, every time something like this happens, they want to take the guns away from the people who didn't do it.
Right. From the innocent.
And we have a Second Amendment. If you don't like guns, you're going to have to change that. As someone said on the internet yesterday, Kurt Schlichter says that. He goes, because someone was saying, I'm going to take away all your guns. He goes, okay, fine, if you can do that. What you're going to have to do, though, is you're going to have to either change the law or you're going to have to get a gun yourself and win a civil war for that to happen.
Yeah, you can take my gun. I'll offer them bullets first. But here's the other thing. Here.
Wait. Go ahead. If you remember it, go ahead.
All right, you're next. I remembered the memory. The most important thing to me about the Second Amendment is how we hear it. And to me, the important part of it is this. The important part of the Second Amendment is not that you and I have the right to own a gun. The important part of the Second Amendment is that the government does not have the right to stop us from having a gun. It's not our right. It's the prevention of the government. See how smart they were? In other words, the founding fathers were saying, we don't like the government giving us taxes with no representation. We don't like the government, making sure just coming into your home and putting their soldiers into rest there for the roads and so and so. We don't like the government stopping us from having guns. It's to prevent the government from doing things, not to allow us to do things on our own. That's God-given. It's automatic. Right. The Second Amendment says the government does not have the right to stop me from keeping my guns. That's the most important rule there is.
First of all, if you really are confused by the Second Amendment, the best definition I've ever heard for a Penn and Teller, and you go on YouTube, Penn and Teller explaining the Second Amendment. It takes us a few minutes, and it's brilliant.
You want to do it?
Brilliant. Well, look up and say. And second of all, his momentary moment of confusion brought to you by Atlanta Custom Closets, closetpro.net. Just call 404-255-0589. That's Atlanta Custom Closets, closetpro.net.
You got it? Okay, now, should we try to find that Penn and Teller thing? I've got quick.
And then watch it before you do it, because some of it might be visual. It might be best just to send people to it, or we'll post it on our Facebook.
I'll put it under.
Well, but if it's good audio, let's. Well, why don't you look at it?
Yeah, you look at it and see if it's too
Is
visual.
it possible to do that while we're doing this for a minute? And if it's, we'll put it up anyway, because you mentioned it, so you should go look Penn and Teller on the Second Amendment.
I will do it right now.
Well, there you are. Now, while you're doing that, speaking of the teachers and the thing, this is, talk about the power of the teachers' unions, or what's going on with teachers these days. In Clayton County, let me make sure I get this guy's name right here. 41-year-old Perel DeCello Collins, 41-year-old gym teacher and coach at James H. Brown Elementary School in Clayton County, is facing 2 counts of first-degree cruelty to children and simple battery because apparently a 10-year-old autistic student reported that Collins, the teacher, shoved him a couple of weeks ago. And so the parents complained to the school, and they said it took them weeks demanding the footage of the security cameras to find out what had happened, that the school was sandbagging them and stonewalling them. And eventually they got the video, and you can see on the video that the Collins could be seen yelling at the woman's son before he grabbed the back of the child's neck and shoved him against the wall. Collins apparently then walked away, then said, "Oh yeah," and turned back and shoved the kid to the ground, the autistic 10-year-old. They had to battle to get charges filed against him. District officials in Clayton said, "Oh no, we acted immediately." Well, apparently you did not. And he got fired and he's charged criminally. But can you imagine autistic kid and the 41-year-old teacher and a 10-year-old slams him against a wall and then shoves him to the ground? God, I'd be at that guy's house.
I'd be beating the shit.
I mean, I wouldn't be going to the principal. Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, when you get out of the hospital, you're going to have to go to court.
Ollie, oxen free.
Holy criminy. Any luck on the Penn and Teller thing?
I just put it on Facebook. Yeah, it's,
right,
it's a minute 12.
Yeah.
Here it is. Penn and Teller on the Second Amendment.
So what does the Second Amendment actually say?
Can't hear it.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security... So what does the Second Amendment actually say? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. Not a lot of words, just very specific ones.
It means that the states have the right to have a well-regulated militia. And a 20-year-old kid carrying an assault weapon on the streets of downtown America has absolutely nothing to do with a well-regulated militia.
Say the critics.
Well, no. Read the words. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Sure, you need an organized military force to defend your country, but the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the people, in contrast with the militia. It doesn't say the right of the militia to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It says the right of the people. Now, why the word people? Because the people who wrote this had just fought a war for 2 years against a tyrannical state militia. They knew the time might come when they'd have to do that again. So they made the possession of weapons a right that the militia could never take away.
There you are.
Now, gun control advocates say the phrasing is clumsy, and the comma separating the state from the people is just a pause to get your breath. Strange, they can't seem to point out any other places where those hack framers fucked up the wording.
But again, the importance of it's not the militia. The militia, it says, so you can have a militia if you want to. The people have to keep their guns. Yeah. And not only do the people have the right, but the government does not have the right to stop you. That's the most important part of it. It's a rule the government cannot stop me. I mean, that's way more important than just saying, it's so clear to me. Okay. Anyway, Second Amendment, man. We're in. We're ready too, by the way. Flounder mentioned this. My ear just popped. Oh. Not all the way. Oh, I have a wholly. Oh my God!
Can you hear?
I have. I can hear. All of a sudden, I have a whole different tone of hearing in my left ear. I'm going to the ear doctor tomorrow, and
of course.
But
it'll be fine by the time you go there tomorrow.
Now it's over. Your voice just now is bouncing off the walls, over modulating, bouncing in my ear. Is that unbelievable?
Wow.
Isn't that? Oh my God!
Lucky you.
Can't wait to find out what's going on in there.
She said.
Hello. Something going on in there? Sorry, honey, didn't mean to wake you.
Need a rim shot.
Flounder mentioned a little while ago in passing about the COVID funds. And I was talking about the teachers union, what they do with the money if they aren't using it for security and things like that. Well, check this out. The COVID money and how the social libs in America are using it. The story's getting buried. Obviously, the news of the day with the slaughter in the school and the devil worshiping and the election and so forth, this story's not getting any attention, but I found it and thought I'd pass it along. Remember the glory days when President Joe Pussbrain, the cuckolder-in-chief, had Democrats pass the $2 trillion relief bill. Not one single Republican voted for it. Remember that? All Democratic plan, $2 trillion, so you didn't have to go to work. By the way, how much did you get?
I got one of those checks, $1,500 or something.
Yeah, but I mean, how much of the COVID money so you could stay home?
Oh, none of those. I got none of that.
Flounder, how much you didn't get any? You didn't get any Flounder money?
The severance checks or whatever.
No, of the COVID of the Biden COVID money that he was sending out to all these companies.
Oh,
no, we didn't get any. Yeah, we didn't get any of this money. Anyway, but he sent a $2 trillion relief bill, which is one of the reasons we have this inflation we're having today. People, the prices and everything else. Well, let's recall how much we got to help us being out of work and so forth, which was zilch. Now, here's a short list, a short of a very long list, a short part of a long list of who did get the money and what they did with it. I thought it was supposed to help people pay their bills, keep their mortgages, pay off their car notes, avoid bankruptcy during the shutdown imposed by Democrats. So the economy would keep going because nobody's going out to restaurants, and so you had to pay these people because they couldn't go to work. That's, I thought, was the thing. Okay. University of Montana, $500,000 for public lectures on racial justice for indigenous people. $500,000 for public lectures on racial injustice. $50,000 to the Mariana Islands program called 500 Sails, which teaches indigenous canoe building and exploring colonial sea life.
Well, I'm for that.
I'm totally in favor of learning how to build a Samoan canoe. The Carnegie Institute in Pittsburgh. Now, I thought they had quite a bit of money anyway. The Carnegie people. Carnegie Institute in Pittsburgh got $500,000 of COVID funds to develop an exhibit on ancient Egypt. Oh, the museum had already been granted $5.8 million a few months earlier to help their people so they didn't have to go to work at the Carnegie Museum.
That was Bob Carnegie. That wasn't
Fred
Andrew
Carnegie. Andy and Fred were, they were the
money.
outcasts.
Bob, he started his own shit.
Whole different take on it. The Science History Institute in Philadelphia. $400,000 they got to explore the history of racism in science and medicine. $400,000, the history of science racism and medicine racism in history of it. Not right now.
You already shown us some pretty bad examples of this that was supposed to help Americans.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine how much grift and graft is in the $40 billion going to Ukraine.
And by the way, just the other day, a well-known expert in Ukraine and a public figure came out and said, sorry, folks, but for the record, Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in all of you. I mean, no shit. I mean, everybody knows that. Well, Hunter Biden was on the payroll for the energy company. Come on. Joe Biden said, if you don't investigate that guy, and they dropped the investigation.
If you don't fire this guy who's investigating it, you're not getting your $1 billion.
I mean, talk about corruption. They're the two Biden
Quid
people.
pro quo.
Right there. Both of them corrupt and made corruption work in Ukraine. And now, anyway. And you don't think Biden knew that when he was sending the $40 billion? I mean, in Hunter?
He knew anything.
Oh, my God. The Chicago Humanities Festival. The Chicago... the Science Institute of Philly got to explore the history of racism in science and medicine. A few months earlier, the same Science History Institute had been given one of those no payback loans of over $1 million. When they gave all those company loans, and if you can show you had 5 people on the payroll, you didn't have to pay it back. Remember that?
That's helping
Man, we should have put in for that.
Helping steal the election.
We should have put in for that. Let's see. The Chicago Humanities Festival. The Chicago Humanities Festival got $200,000 of China COVID relief funds for programs on racial justice to build an inclusive society. A whopping $3.5 million went to the American Council of Learned Societies to help colleges develop programs on climate change and international relations, and on and on. These are all CRT people. These are all social justice warrior programs with the COVID money by the tens of millions.
COVID had nothing to do with COVID.
Nothing to do with COVID. Programs on racial injustice and building canoes.
Scam from
I mean,
day
come
one.
on. That's not getting people to go, they couldn't go to work as a waitress. What the hell? I mean, we couldn't go to work in radio. They killed our radio station.
You joke about we should have applied. I don't know. I think I told you at the time. I looked into it because we had just started a business that was getting hurt by
I think
this.
you needed 5 employees. We could have faked it. We could have hired 2 more.
We didn't qualify. But
why not?
Because of whatever
new
rules.
business?
I looked into it. We didn't qualify.
And
we were the most...
We were an American dream. We were a company. We lost our jobs. We got zoned out by cheats, backstabbing scumbags. We lost our jobs. We started from nothing. We pulled our boots up and said, we're going to make this company work. Started our own company, the freaking 3 of us.
Instead of sitting on the couch and eating Doritos and not working and getting a government stipend.
Started our own company from scratch and made it free, hoping that just the force of it would be able to make a living on it.
Didn't even take
a nickel.
Unemployment checks.
No, it didn't take a damn dime. I didn't get any unemployment money.
I didn't file. I've never filed for unemployment.
Boy, did we make the right decision.
Boy, did we blow. Idiots.
Sorry, boys.
We are morons.
But you know what?
Again, it's called
not that. There's also a sense of pride about it. We didn't. We didn't.
I have a tremendous amount of pride. I mean,
433 shows.
Of a financial COO.
Oh yeah.
And the founders are director of
stuff.
Production.
Director of stuff.
And I'm the president of my own company. I mean, I can't believe it. The 3 of us.
Sky's the limit.
The name on the title.
That's right. And again, we started from scratch with nothing. And didn't rely on anybody else.
And here we are on television.
And here we are failing.
We've got a television show. We seriously have a television show.
That's right. We have a TV.
By the way, we're on Facebook. Are we going to be on Rumble and the other ones too? Is it new? When's that going to happen? Because we got YouTube.
So he's got to get the YouTube. He's already got that set up. He's got to get this stuff linked with the other cameras, and we'll have a Facebook page, a Rumble page, and a YouTube page.
Excellent.
Wow. Well, we need to have.
How about the Twitter one, Twat or whatever it's called? Tweet. What's the Twitter one called? Twitch. Twitch.
I'll ask him about that.
Check into Twitchy. Yeah, it's pretty big.
That's another audio or video file?
Yeah, I think Twitchy. So check into Twitch.
We need to get like cheerleaders or something. This picture of just us sitting here. We got to
college cheerleaders.
College cheerleaders. Yeah, not the little ones. Yeah, the college ones. Or so we. Oh man, your ideas. We'll take your ideas. PeteDavis1@yahoo.com. For ideas on how to spruce up to make it more active, fun.
I don't think our listeners are shy about sending me their. In fact, we're going to find out when I do the Pete's tweets at the end here. They have some opinions about you.
Just a few moments.
And Flounder.
And
all kinds of stuff.
I didn't know about that. Thank you. First, speaking of PeteDavis1@yahoo.com, another word from one of our fine many sponsors. Swap My Whip. And again, a whip, and this is a vernacular for your ride, your car, your truck, or a motorcycle, boat, RV, whatever you're looking for. Swap My Whip if you're looking for a different ride, want to trade a car or your whip. Go to swapmywhip.com, W-H-I-P, swapmywhip.com, and find like-minded car owners when you don't want to deal with dealerships and used car salesmen, stuff like that. At swapmywhip.com, you get a better deal by avoiding the middleman entirely. Trade your car, boat, jet ski, whatever, truck, camper at swapmywhip.com. And right now, if you use the coupon code KIMMER, K-I-M-M-E-R, the coupon code KIMMER, you get 180 days of free premium listings on swapmywhip.com. And back we go.
Man, I am so white.
So white?
I am pale.
You are pale. Well, you're Irish, aren't you?
You got a nice pool. Why don't you ever go sit by your pool? I mean, that's a great place to meet
bunch of
chicks.
kids there.
Yeah,
It's mainly kids.
Yeah.
There's some good looking. There are some, but almost every one of them has either the boyfriend or husband there.
Well, I mean, maybe they're looking for a party.
Maybe they're looking for, what do they call it? People,
Swingers?
Morsome.
Not swingers.
Threesome or a morsome.
sugar daddy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I can give you a sugar. I'm more like a sugar baby. But,
yeah, I got one pack of sugar right here in my pocket. I got one pack of Sweet and Low right here, baby. It's all yours. Boy, are you going to be disappointed? It's like the old story of this old guy with this 24-year-old goddess, and he walks into he's hitting on her, and they're having like a little thing, but they haven't gone all the way, but he wants to be the sugar daddy. So he goes into a jewelry store, and he goes up and he says, "We want something special in this ring for my girlfriend here," and she says, "Oh, it's so cool." And the guy brings out the tray of rings, and he says, "No, something special in the back." And the guy says, "Oh, I know what you mean." So he goes into the back, and he gets all the good stuff, like the $500,000, $200,000 bracelets and Tiffany's, things like that. And the guy says, "Oh, yeah, let's take that one. Let's take that one. And we like that one, honey." "Oh, God, I can't believe it. So he says, "Yeah, we'll take that one." He says, "Here, I'll write you a check." He says, "Okay, you can pick it up Monday." So he takes her back to his place for a great weekend. And then the check bounces, and of course, that's the ball game. Anyway, so beware, ladies, you and your sugar daddies. A scandal or two. Are we done talking about the school thing? Any other comment? I don't want to. Again, it's just... the Southern Baptists got caught.
Uh-oh. What do we do now?
They've been covering up explosive revelations about hiding sexual abuse among the Southern Baptist Convention, including some big shots. Two top administrative leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention are going to release a secret list of hundreds of Southern Baptist pastors and other church-affiliated personnel accused of sexual abuse. It's a scathing investigation how the committee mishandled allegations of sex abuse and stonewalled numerous survivors. It's a 288-page report, contains explosive revelations about how August Boto, the executive committee's former vice president and general counsel, and former SBC spokesman Roger Oldman kept their own private list of abusive pastors. They retired 3 years ago. Anyway, it's been covered up that there were even charges, let alone results of what happened and how many were guilty. So the Southern Baptist Convention says it will release the list.
Now, these are preachers having affairs with their parishioners or what?
Could be child molesters, affairs of women, could be all kinds of things. In fact...
shoot them too.
In fact, I got one story on that. Give me 1 second. In fact, if you want to find something while I'm trying, I found it. I found it.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to show people. I'm a director now. Watch, if you're watching on Facebook, look what I can do. And then I bring us right back.
Oh my! Now, and we're going to have individual cameras at some point here too. Yeah. Here's what happened.
I don't know if Kimmer liked how close the first camera.
Could be a little close. I don't know. We don't want to go right in. No, we don't want to get too close.
Nostril cam.
That's my main life goal right now. Just don't get too close. A pastor has admitted to adultery during a church service, and then it got even worse.
He was doing adultery during the service?
During the service, he admitted it.
Or he admitted it.
Well, let me clear up that mispronunciation for you. This was in Indiana on Sunday. He told his congregants at the pulpit, "I have committed adultery." He walked away from the microphone. A woman claimed that was only a partial truth of what had happened at the time. This is the New Life Christian Church in Warsaw, Indiana. Pastor John Lowe released a statement saying, and the church released a statement saying, "We are hurting and broken for a woman who has lovingly attended and served in the church for many years, as well as for her husband and family." At the end of the service, Lowe claimed that the pastor claimed that his infidelity occurred nearly 20 years ago and continued far too long, according to the video that someone took. "It involved one person, and there's been no other. I sinned. I need to say that, and you deserve to hear that. After asking for forgiveness from those I have sinned against, I will be stepping down in accordance with church bylines and recommendations of the board." He got a standing ovation at the end of the speech. Standing ovation. And then a hush came over the crowd when a woman and her husband approached the microphone. The woman said, "For 27 years I lived in a prison. It was not 20 years, said the woman, who described herself as a victim of Pastor Lowe's. "I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do." The woman was not publicly identified by name. She's now in her 40s. The pastor is 65. As she addressed the congregants, she said for decades she lied to protect the family of the pastor, and I thought I was a horrible person. She claimed she'd still be in prison today if not for her brother, who approached her 2 weeks earlier with his recollection of what he had seen when they were teenagers. He said to her, "You are not the victim here," and she said to the minister, "You are not the victim here. The church deserves to know the truth. This church has been built on lies and nothing more." The video shows the pastor addressing the questions for the congregation, finally saying she was 16 years old. "It was wrong. I can't make it right. I can't make it any better. That's just the way it is. I wish I could go back." But he probably will not be, he may be charged, may not be charged, depending on statute of limitations and things like that.
I bet he wishes he could go back.
I'll bet he does. Scumbag. But again, you know, and he gets a standing ovation until the girl comes up, who's now a woman, with her husband.
So she wasn't the one having an affair with him. So that's a separate issue.
He raped her.
No, this is a separate issue than the affair he was
No,
having.
there was no, that was it. She was the affair. He raped her and then
Well, that's
did
not an affair.
Yeah, exactly. He tried to make it sound as though I cheated on my wife. I had an affair 20 years ago, and then she said, "No,
Nah.
no, you raped me on your office floor. You took my virginity on your office floor, and it lasted
depends on
too
what
long."
the laws in Indiana are at that time too.
But again, he had to. Yeah, I don't know. He had to. Whatever. I mean, he's a scumbag. Let's see. Oh, as you know, I read Dear Abby just for the hell of it. It's Gene Phillips these days, but Dear Abby column. All right. Now, I think we've talked about bachelor parties before. Did you have a bachelor party when you were married?
No, we kind of did it on the sly. We didn't do it.
Flounder, you haven't been married. Have you been to bachelor parties?
Oh, yeah.
And what is there a common denominator at your typical bachelor? How many have you been? I've been to one, or I think one.
Oh, man, I've been to a
whole
dozen
bunch
or so.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell the people who have not been. That's maybe women who what happens.
Well, I mean,
Drinking
it varies. You can have, I mean, a typical bachelor party is you go to a strip joint, have drinks, pay for the bachelor, get them a limo and all that, get them lap dances. I mean, I've been to other ones where we just went up to the lake and had a guy's weekend and didn't have any of the kind of stripper activity or any stuff like that.
Have you had some where they had brought in strippers?
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Whores?
No, not a whore. No, I don't.
right,
well,
now,
I take that back.
Okay, if you've been to
Now, I didn't partake in any of that, but I think I've been to one or two where there was a backroom deal.
Yeah, okay. I will briefly describe the one bachelor party. Well, when I was getting married, Well, my first marriage for my my favorite ex-wife, my starter wife, I was going to Vietnam in 2 weeks, so we got boom bam, we got married. We had 200 people show up in a week's notice. It was really, really spectacular. Had a big sit-down wedding in 6 days' notice, and then anyway, my final wife, I didn't want a bachelor party. For one thing, I was a grown man. This was 1990, whatever. And I was a grown man, didn't want a bachelor party, but I also didn't want her to be having any bachelorette parties. Because you shy and a little girl, you're getting yeah. When they bring out the male strippers and the male strippers get nude, and then they make the girl, the wife to be, the bride to be, do various things just to make her like playing with various things that are on display by these guys for the crowd there. What they walk around naked, and the girls have to do various things. I'll bet you can't do that. You can do it. They make them play little games with their hungadas. Oh. That's what the girl parties do. Well, I didn't want a bachelor party, so I never had a bachelor party. But I went to one of my best man who was getting married, and I went to his bachelor party. And it was upstairs at a restaurant. It was a private room club. There was probably 20 of us, I guess. And they brought 2 women showed up, and they almost immediately got totally naked. And so a couple of guys immediately grabbed him by the hand and went into the back room, a private room, to go do whatever they wanted to do, to talk, whatever. And then they came up to the bachelor, and they handcuffed him and they kind of teased him with various things, and did stuff like that. But here's my point. And by the way, this one where I told the story, I won't maybe leave out the part that you thought was so gross, but one of the girls came up and sat on my lap, naked, totally naked. Sat on my lap.
Yeah, don't.
I won't say it. Sat on my lap, totally naked, and said, "What about you, handsome?" And I said, I've got a girlfriend, and I've never cheated on her. I can't. I'm really not interested. And I kind of was really being silly. And she was real sweet, and I think she kissed me on the cheek, and then went on to the next guy or whatever it was. Okay, my point being, when I got home, I basically told her everything. I told the guy, I said, I will tell you what she wanted to know what happens at a bachelor party. And she's my wife, and I trusted her at the time. And so I said, I'll tell you on the condition that you don't one day throw this back in my face, which girls do. Yeah. They always do. It might be 12 years, but you're going to hear about it. And I said, on that condition also, that you believe me, that I'm telling you the absolute truth. Yes, sir. Okay, so I told her, I said the first 2 guys in were so-and-so and so-and-so, who were both well-known celebrities in the town, and she knew who they were. They were one of them was they're both major celebrity guys who obviously were now cheating on their wives at a bachelor party. So I told her who they were, and she knew it. And both of those guys were both assholes as far as I'm concerned. I didn't care that she knew that they were cheating on their wives with the thing. And I told her about the girl with me, and I told her something, anyway, I mentioned that.
You broke the bro code.
No, well, okay, but here's the thing. There's no video of that event. Yeah. Okay. With that, I read you this. Dear Abby, I'm about to get married to a wonderful woman. We've been together 16 years, have 2 precious kids. We were treated to bachelor and bachelorette parties a week apart. Although we all know what goes on during them isn't real, it's over once you walk out the door. Well, my fiance has pictures and videos of her bachelorette celebration. Ooh. I knew what could have happened, but only in my imagination. Now, seeing these images of male appendages, I now find myself constantly comparing myself to the performers. Even though I had told her that the fantasy shouldn't come home in any way, she says there's nothing to hide, which is why she had the pictures and videos done. Am I overreacting? The wedding is still going to happen, by the way.
She's a whore.
Dear, slut.
She's a
tramp.
Run.
Dear Abby says, well, while the fact that your fiancé brought home souvenirs is regrettable, you are going to have to let your anxiety go, regardless of what went on at our bachelorette party, and I know some of them could be pretty wild. You remember that those men that were hired for the occasion. If it's truly affected your self-esteem, the cost of nuptials sessions with a therapist, or all I said was go see a therapist. You can't take... And by the way, what kind of woman would do that? Pack up her shit and put it on the sidewalk. It's over.
Unless you want that type of marriage.
Who wants that kind of man? You know, that's like Biden, the president, the chief of the cuckolding with his wife that he got.
Again, that's kind of the thing. I mean, that's a thing these days is open marriage and stuff like that.
Oh, jeez. I don't get it.
Why get married if you're going to do that? Why don't you just date someone and be open?
I mean, yeah. Why would you ever get married?
Why bring the law into it?
Yeah. And these girl parties, they're egging her on. Oh, come on, but you can't touch that. Bitch, you can't touch it. You can't make it. They're that's what they do. I don't want to know about it.
Whipped cream off
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't.
Real quick, funny story. I forgot about this. A bachelor party I went to a couple years ago. A good friend of mine was getting married. You guys know him, but we went to a buddy of ours. We rented a house on a lake, and there were 2 strippers that came, and they came early. And one of them, we ordered barbecue. And the stripper comes in, talks to us, helps herself to a giant plate of barbecue and baked beans, and sits right down next to me. And I'm like,
"Oh, no.
You ain't sitting on my lap in half an hour." Just the biggest. I understand that, but the biggest plate of barbecue and baked beans before you do some dancing.
I want my stripper. By the way, your stripper really likes you. Just
she loves you.
You can change her.
A couple of quick things. This popped up on my Facebook page, and I was going to reply. I hope they set the bastard on fire. A teenager was shot and wounded after he shot and wounded a police dog in Gwinnett County. His name is Levi Bryan, 17-year-old punk in Oakwood, in critical condition. He shot the dog canine named Kai, who is in stable condition and will survive. But it was on Facebook yesterday. I saw this, shot the damn police dog. He had brought a gun to the house, threatened some people, including his ex-girlfriend. They found him in a, quote, wooded area. But they found him in the woods. They found him in the woods. He was in the woods. It was in the wooded area. And he fired he fired upon the approaching officers and shot the police dog, Kai. And it says the police gave the kid first aid on the scene. Let's give the first aid. Officer, the best first aid is to a teenager bleeding after shooting your police dog is to take your steel-toed boot and squeeze the open wound to get all the badness out. The harder you squeeze his open bleeding wound, it gets all the poisons
pressure
out.
On it.
It's pressure. A lot of pressure with the steel-toed boot to just make sure you get all the badness out of the pus and mucus, stuff like that out of there. That's the best way to give him first aid on the scene. Set him on fire. Ugh, God. And I mentioned this quick thing. It's not like the old days. It was a house party in Fayette County. They invited like 10 or 15 people. All of a sudden, 200 showed up because somebody put it on social media. 200 people showed up. It was in a cul-de-sac. 2 o'clock or 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. People, of course, had their guns shooting. A couple of guys got shot. And, it was just a little house party when I guess the parents weren't home maybe or the kids. And all of a sudden, social media and everything's different. And now, of course, they shoot each other as opposed to pouring a beer on somebody. You
dissed him.
Totally. Yeah, disrespected the guy. Just a quick note about this, and again, it was a bizarre story. I knew when I was a boater, we were told, or we knew, maybe I learned it in a Coast Guard class, that if you go near dams on the water and they start churning and opening up the dams to do various things, you're going to get some currents. You're going to get some very serious current.
That's why they blow the horn.
Yeah, that's why they warn you that we're going to open up the dam.
Yeah.
Okay, well, apparently, very narrowly averted a horrible tragedy Sunday when a mother and daughter were on the Chattahoochee. And a father called and said, "My wife and daughter are trapped on the river." It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon near the Cumming Highway Bridge in Buford. The firefighters got there and they spotted the woman and her daughter, couldn't get to them. More fast than usual currents because of the Buford Dam was generating hydroelectricity at the time, which they warned you about as far as I remember. They threw them ropes. They were too far gone, so even the rescue crews couldn't get to them. They had to bring out the special rescue boat. Navigated to the 2 stranded mother and daughter people. 2 rescue swimmers entered the water, were able to retrieve the daughter, but the mother was swept away. Even the rescue swimmers couldn't get to the mother. The current was so strong. So the boat tried to follow her and eventually maintained enough contact to yank her into the boat to pull her to safety. These are professional rescue teams. and they were having this kind of trouble. And I guess they were not wearing life jackets. If you're on the water, man, I have one either on or by my arm. I mean, anyway. So just for the record, and again, it's courage. Remember my starter wife. We were up running the Chattahoochee with some families and 5 inner tubes tied together by ropes, and she fell off and the rocks, and so I jumped off and was holding all the inner tubes with my right arm while I'm grabbing her in my left arm, and I'm getting cut up and banged up. Oh my God, we both almost died and bouncing off the rocks.
It's 3 feet deep.
But trust me, when it was moving so fast, she couldn't stand up. She thought she was dead. I mean, honestly, and I'm holding on to 5 inner tubes and trying to grab her by the neck.
You know what you're more in danger of? Those 6-foot rats that live down there.
Well, that's probably
Biggest
true
rat
too.
I ever saw. Jumped out of the water one day up on a rock.
Yeah, they must have been a muskrat or something. I mean,
No,
I
it
don't.
was a rat.
It was a rat. No, not good. And one quick thing: a Roswell woman died skydiving near the Polk County Airport. Skydive Spaceland Atlanta in Cedartown. 26-year-old woman. They're inspecting the packaging of the parachute and the reserve chute. It was her first solo training skydive. She was wearing her own parachute, and she was with an instructor, but wearing her own chute, and died.
No emergency chute?
No, the second didn't work.
Both didn't work.
Both didn't work. Apparently, the chute and the second chute, the reserve parachute.
If she had just stayed on the ground or inside that perfectly fine airplane, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, that's right. Well, again, I'll never parachute or skydive again. I did it that once, and it was unbelievable. One of the greatest
What we ought to
experiences.
do one day? It's across from the Battery. We should go to that thing where you can pretend that you're parachuting.
The parachuting part was the most fun part. The skydiving I didn't care about at all. It was just the
Sky
skydiving
zone?
was just rushing.
Yeah, we should do that one
Yeah,
day.
but
It's right. It's right next to the Battery.
When you skydive, all you're feeling is the rush of air and you can't really feel anything. When you hit the parachute, and all of a sudden you're standing in the sky. Oh man, I could do that all day. The feeling of looking down and seeing your feet dangling in the air. It's unbelievable. I mean, really, the parachute part was fantastic. All right, God, I'm dragging on here so bad. Holy Crap of Sports later on today, I'm guessing.
Yes, sir.
With Pete Davis, best sports podcast in America. A couple of things. I have 3 things to mention. They suspended Josh Donaldson for a game because he used the word Jackie. You freaking coward bastards.
They cannot prove it was racist.
Oh my!
And
It wasn't racist.
It hurt the black man's feelings.
It was
so the white man
poor
gets
baby. Yeah.
it's bullshit.
Your poor little baby black man got his little feelings hurt by a white man, so they cracked down. I mean, again, if even talking about Mickey Manley, but hey, Mickey, how you doing? It was to mock him for being a
What the
showboat.
excuse was? Because Timmy says it made me feel lesser of a man.
Poor baby.
Well, so what do we got? We got to walk around eggshells around
Yeah.
you little pussy,
And by
because
the way,
we can't say anything about you?
And who is he? Who is he anyway? I don't.
He's a good second baseman.
Yeah,
He's
so
an all-star
what?
from the White Sox who's never won anything.
Yeah, so
and he's
what?
obviously got a thin skin, and now everybody's going to walk with eggshells around this guy because the league's going to back him up
Yeah.
every time he screams racism.
Right. What a bunch of crap.
If I'm Josh, I'm suing their ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's definitely
This is like the
appealing
Kurt
it.
Flood free agent thing. This is freedom of
That
speech.
was legitimate. This isn't.
No, but I mean, this is freedom of speech. I mean, he should sue to be the Kurt Flood of freedom of.
He didn't say anything wrong. He made
I
fun of
agree.
him for something he had said.
Right, I agree. And you can't let Major League Baseball.
Well, they're woke.
Yeah, well,
It's Rob Manfred, and they're
say,
woke.
And I say fight it. I say take it to court and try to.
He's appealing it right
yeah.
now, and everyone basically. So it went on Twitter,
Yeah.
and everyone was expecting them to, oh my gosh, this is race, blah blah. Most people were saying this is such utter crap.
Yeah, total bullshit. I mean, who are you? That you're so offended that nobody can,
No one can say
the
anything
word
to
to
him.
you. My God.
But he can run his mouth all the time.
Yeah, it's so wrong. It's our country. So it's in modern day America. It's Biden's America. The NFL is going to replace the Pro Bowl game. No shit. I mean, about time. Nobody. You couldn't play. You didn't want to get hurt. And you had guys who didn't want to hurt each other and stuff. It was always stupid. Well, actually, it used to be a chance to see.
No, it was always stupid.
Well, it's probably true. But when I was a kid, I remember we used to think it was legit, and because they played hard and guys were. Anyway, thank God it's over. And one last sports thing: the Steelers quarterback Haskins, who was on I-595 near Fort Lauderdale months ago when he tried to cross the interstate at night.
And father,
Sure, that's for sure. He was 2.5 times the legal limit drunk And he also had.
Was with
Let's
a woman.
see.
That he left
He
a
weighed
party
230 pounds. He would have had to have at least 10 drinks right before he did that. He had painkiller ketamine and metabolite norketamine also in his system.
Driving.
And was going to get gas, and he was drunk and high, and he's dead
And with
forever.
a woman who was not his wife.
Yeah.
But he was an upstanding citizen and a great
and they had
model and
they had
father.
big service for him and all.
Yeah,
that.
and
Anyway,
we
so
still hear
there's-
from the wife, crying about what a great person he was.
Yeah,
And it's
well.
like, okay, he could have killed people that night.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
do we have time for some history stuff? We're going
Your
kind of
show.
late, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is that too
Pushing 2 hours. Let's go.
late? Well, I'm sorry. I hate to leave. I worked
Well,
on
do
all
it.
of this
Do
stuff.
it.
I spent hours.
Shut up and do it.
Okay, speaking of sports, 1935 on this very day, Babe Ruth hit home run number
Well, don't you
712.
have to do the sports ones.
It's an important day.
Okay.
Babe Ruth hit on 1935 on this day. Babe Ruth hit number 712, 713, and 714. His last home run at Forbes Field against the Pirates, while Ruth was with the Boston Braves, and then he retired.
Knocked one out of the ballpark.
He did 3 of them. He hit
I
3
know,
home runs.
But one was out
Went literally
of the
out of the park.
ballpark.
Yeah. And again, that's with the old balls and stuff too. So yeah. Let's see. 1998. I'd forgotten this. Librarians and academics, who we usually laugh at, raised serious concerns about the internet causing more harm than it does good by not checking things like looking up medical treatments. Founders of Google came up with a dominant search engine in 1998 that would measure the content of a page using a form of voting from links on other sites, which would be more likely to give the best results. Now, with buying links and spam and President Joe Clampants and his fake bot friends, it's all bullshit anyway. But that's how they decided they raised concerns, because we could just having fake friends and fake bots and all the rest of it. 2006, former Enron big shots Kenny Baby Lay and Jeffrey Skilling convicted in Houston, conspiracy and fraud in the company's downfall at Enron. Kenny Baby, George W. Bush's friend, died before sentencing, apparently not by the Clintons. And Skilling got 24 years. He served 12 and got out 3 years ago. John Scopes, the science teacher in high school in 1925, indicted for teaching the theory of evolution against state law. 1965, speaking of sports, Sonny Liston got a do-over. Must have been just for the money. In February of the year before, Cassius Clay pummeled Liston to win the heavyweight title crown. He then heard about Vietnam, and Cassius changed his name to Muhammad Ali and took on Liston in the famous Phantom Punch bout. Liston goes down in the first round, and no one saw why. Never actually saw the punch land. The referee was Jersey Joe Walcott, the famous boxer who said Ali wins in a knockout. 1992, Jay Leno appears as the new permanent host of The Tonight Show. Apparently, this TV executive, Helen Kushnick, we've heard about, told him not to even mention Johnny Carson. Leno went on the show and never mentioned Johnny Carson. He was taking over for the great one, which is pretty stupid. The Constitutional Convention opened on this day, Philadelphia, 1787. The Democrats now just called another meeting of white supremacist slave owners. 1935, a 21-year-old sophomore at Ohio State named Jesse Owens ran the 100-yard dash at the Big Ten track and field meet in 9.4 seconds, a world record. That was at 3:15 in the afternoon. 3:25, he did the long jump, flew 26 feet 8 inches, another world record by half a foot. At 3:35, he ran the 220 in 20.3 seconds, another world record that had stood for 9 years. 20 minutes later, he ran the 220 hurdles. His time of 23 seconds was another world record that stood for 11 years. He set 4 world records in one meet in 45 minutes before he went to the Olympics and showed Hitler. Flounders guy wrote this, 1959. The Supreme Court ruled that prohibiting boxing matches between blacks and whites was unconstitutional. Good news for equality, bad news for white people. They haven't won a boxing match since.
We just won one.
I just won one. I'm Flounders guy. Midnight Cowboy hit the theaters on this day, 1969. Dustin Hoffman and John Voight rated X, but it won the Academy Award for Best Picture, the only X-rated movie to do that. The X was because of nudity, sex, and drugs. It was shocking as hell in 1969, but 10 years later, they re-released it, and it was only rated R.
Never seen it.
It's a depressing...
Yeah, I don't want to say it's depressing.
I mean, honestly, I think it's probably worth seeing just if you like what film things are.
New York,
but you don't even
in the
see,
70s.
bores
me.
You didn't see the one with a guy with
the guy with the name.
The guy with the name and the little girl named Scout and the monster in the tree in the woods and the trial of the black guy and the trial of the black guy who the book you won't read. You've never Kill a Mockingbird. You won't see that movie either. Oh, I remember one more thing. I remember this. I was there, 1981. Daredevil Daniel Goodwin scaled the outside of the Chicago Sears Tower in just under 8 hours, all while wearing a Spider-Man costume. But what they didn't put in the story, and what I remember, is that tight-ass little snotty Mayor Jane Byrne told the fire department to hose him off the building to his death. And they started bringing out the hoses until people said, "Are you trying to kill him? You're trying to hose him off the building of the Sears Tower?" So they finally let him go and arrested him when he got to the top. I mean, my God, she wanted to hose him off. Jeez.
That whole thought of climbing something is just...
and on the outside of the building. It makes my hands sweat just thinking about it.
I don't even want to think about it.
Let's see, this got him out. So, 1968, the Stones released Jumpin' Jack Flash after their gardener, who was going by the window that day, but it never showed up on an album for 4 years for some reason. Birthday, Sir Ian McKellen, 83 today.
Damn.
Mike Myers of the funny Mike Myers guy, 59.
No, he's not funny anymore. That thing on Netflix.
I haven't seen him in 20 years.
Tablet or something. I tried to watch the first 10, 15 minutes. It's horrible.
A new Mike Myers thing? Really?
It's horrible.
Really?
How can a man lose all his humor in one fell swoop?
Yeah.
It's
gone. Wow. I hadn't heard anything about him.
By the way, the kids in the hall, the first show was like, okay, but the second show started out pretty damn... It was twisted like the old show used to be.
Yeah.
It's...
I haven't seen that either. I remember the old one was pretty cool. Anne Hesh, the former, what's her name, girlfriend... I'm not a lesbian, but I'm 53. Allie, the naughty little Allie Raisman, the Olympic gymnast with those hard muscle legs, 28 today. The beautiful Connie Selica, 67 years old. What a beautiful, handsome woman. Justin Henry is 51. Justin Henry was the little boy nominated for an Oscar at age 8 in the movie Kramer versus Kramer. And you know Frank Oz, the name Frank Oz? I'll bet you probably do. The famous director and a guy in a lot of things. Frank Oz is 78 today. He's the original puppeteer and the voice of Fozzie Bear, Cookie Monster, Bert, Grover, Animal, Miss Piggy, and Yoda. Yep. He also directed Little Shop of Horrors, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and What About Bob?
He's at the beginning of Blues Brothers.
Unbelievable.
Too. He was a genius.
Anyway, what a great tribute. All right, that's fine. Let's get going. Here we go.
All right, here's little Pete's tweets here. Liz.
Yes.
Says, Pete, we love Kimmer's old stories. Even the wine story. You should make one day a year where he can tell the stolen wine story.
I haven't told that story in a year, you bastard.
All right. Flounder. Don has a message for you.
Yes, Don?
Does Flounder always interrupt with useless dribble and nonsense? Or is it just me? Love the show.
It's just him.
All right, what else we got here? Now we did the 10 minutes.
All right, hold on a minute. Oh, you got another tweet?
No, keep talking while I'm looking for it.
Oh, while you're looking for it, don't forget our buddies at M&S Title Pawn.
That's right.
M&S Title Pawn LLC. This lovely segment of the Kiffer Show podcast brought to you by M&S Title Pawn LLC in beautiful Bremen, Georgia, right there at 306 Laurel Street, Suite A. Excuse me, open Monday through Saturday. You can visit them in person, obviously. Go to manstitle.com and help me spell it for you. MANDS title.com. manstitle.com. Here's a phone number, 678-821-3337. Don't forget, that's M&S Title Pawn in Bremen.
Lovely.
And we pause. I don't know if we even need to do that time.
Mark says,
yes.
The pie people that so stumped you was Hostess.
Oh,
Like you say,
no,
it was
I
Entenmann.
showed the pictures of Entenmann's.
Yeah, which we
but I
said
think-
1,000 times the
Yeah,
other day.
but
It
I
was
think
Entenmann.
Hostess does make those little pies too. I
they
think there are different ones. Yeah.
Don,
In fact, they
right.
used to make. I don't like cherry pie. I love the flavored cherry in sodas and things. But I don't. I hate cherry pies. But once in a while, like once a year, they come out with blueberry. The little blueberry pie. Those things are good.
Okay.
Those things are good.
Donnie says, Pete, the pickle beer is really good.
Ugh.
Also, I listen to the Kimmer Show so much while I'm driving that I bought a bell for my truck.
Bell, screw you.
So he can bell you
So
too.
he's got people driving alongside him, watching him ringing his little bell while he's
Will he
driving.
shut up? Joe, love the show. You need to put a gear tab on the website. Would love a shirt or mug. And I pointed out to Joe, actually, we do have one. It's the Farmhouse Printing logo that you
Yeah,
hit.
that's true.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Cool.
Okay. And here's what Whoopi Goldberg said on The View. The Archbishop of San Francisco is calling for Speaker Nancy Pelosi to be denied receiving communion because of her pro-choice stance. This is not your job, dude. And someone like, it kind of is, though.
Exactly your job. That's pretty much your job.
Steven
God.
says, Pete can now add influencer to his many titles. Today I was at the dentist, was told I need a root canal. Not something I was looking forward to going through. But then I thought to myself, what would Pete Davis do? And I recall Pete saying the other day they just did it to get it over with. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I had the root canal done just to get over it. Pete Davis, podcast co-host, author, international traveler, man of leisure, and now influencer.
By the way, all of a sudden now on my phone, when I open up my Facebook page, it'll have pictures of these gorgeous young women in tiny little skirts and great legs. Your influencer can help your business grow. And it's just softcore porn of sexy models trying to get me to be an sign up for some influencer thing. My God.
And finally, are you nervous of flying?
No,
Flounder,
not
nervous
really.
of flying?
I don't like going through it, but I'm not nervous about being up in the air.
There's no need to be. Just remember this next time you're nervous.
Yeah.
As long as the 2 million parts in a plane work perfectly while traveling at close to the speed of sound, as sharp metal blades rotate at supersonic speeds and temperatures of minus 65 degrees, 7 miles above the Earth's surface, you'll be absolutely fine.
You'll be too. They do have a lot of parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts there.
Just really got a
Okay, okay. So I'm playing around last night, and when they launch these satellites into space, they build the rocket in the Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about this is 22,000 pounds of pure rocket fuel. In other words, it's a bomb. If anybody even turns a phone on, it's a crater. Okay, so they build it there. Then they build it over at Vandenberg, and then they fly the plane over to Vandenberg in Santa Barbara, and they load it underneath this special plane. It's the only plane in the world that can do this, right?
Yeah.
And they do it inside the hangar. Then they got to get it out of the hangar, all loaded together. If you touch anything, the whole thing could blow. And Vandenberg
Static
Air Force
electricity
Base
or
will
whatever.
disappear, basically. So they're wheeling it out at night outside of the hangar.
Yeah.
There's 3 inches clearance on either side of the hangar door.
3 inches, that's it?
And
For a
it's
thing that weighs a million
A
pounds?
slot cut into the wall to let the wing go through.
I think I've seen that, yeah.
And I'm sitting there looking at this going, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I would widen the doors
Yeah, I would make a bigger door.
on that hangar.
Yeah, why would they just have a slit for the wings? No, that's not good.
And the whole time they're telling you the merest little scratch,
No.
and we're all gone.
Yeah, that can't be. You've got
Just stupid. All right, Flounder, why we got Bad Text Theater today? Let me find it here. Let's see. What did we do yesterday? Oh, we did the coroner. And let's see. Okay, you want to do the documentary?
Let's see here.
The guy and the
Is it
stoner?
above that one? Oh, the stoner? Yeah.
Are you the guy or the stoner?
Obviously, I'll be the stoner.
I just watched a documentary on marijuana.
I watch all my documentaries that way.
No truer words
Boys,
were ever said.
have a great day.
In fact, we'll do the fade out. Here we go. We're fading out. on the
Fading.
show.
Adios. Thank you.